So, my man's Fonte tweeted this. So, did you hear about the Joe Rogan Spotify deal? I'm assuming you did.
I did.
So, for those who don't know, the number on record, basically, Rogan has always been pissed at YouTube for censorship issues because you gotta be very careful. Can't play this, or YouTube take it down, or can't fucking blah blah blah. I can't say this because blah blah blah. So Spotify hit him up, and they basically gave him. They said 100 mil. I watched another podcast with his friends, a fighter and a kid, and they were saying that it was closer to 200 mil.
Jesus.
To exclusively have his podcast on Spotify. So from September 1st, the audio will be, I think everything will be moving to Spotify, and then 100% Spotify at the end of the year. And they're still going to keep the clips on YouTube, but they're going to put the full video only on Spotify through the video. I guess they're building some sort of video tech because I don't know if they have that right now.
Right.
And I think the audio is going to be Spotify only as of January 1st. So this is what Fonte had to say. Tiff disagreed with this, but I think it's a good conversation. He says, this Joe Rogan Spotify deal makes me think it won't be long before artists start charging to be on podcasts.
I've seen that.
Did you see the tweet? Okay, this is for everyone else.
Yeah.
So basically, he retweeted somebody saying that they're comparing Spotify to MTV because essentially Spotify gave the big money to podcasters versus musicians, and the musicians built the platform. So, Fonte says, when artists realize that all their content is being leveraged against them, they're going to start asking to be paid honorariums for guesting on these podcasts, just like public speakers. It meant nothing to work the podcast circuit as free promotion when you were shucking for an upcoming tour or a new album, but now in the age of the Rona, there's no more upselling. Spotify makes its name and builds its brand off music, which allows them to buy and license content from other creators. Meanwhile, the musicians who built the platform get paid micro pennies. Then they pay these podcasters millions of dollars in hopes that musicians will go back on their platform and give them new content to promote the same albums that they ain't paying a shit for. You gotta love it. Quarantine has forced many artists to self-tape and become one-man production entities for these podcasts and IG lives. If you're already assuming the labor, why not own the content, or at the very least be compensated for it? It's something to consider. So, React. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Dude,
it's deep, I know. It's a lot to throw on you without preparation, so apologies.
Yeah, no, that's big, it's deep. We love Fonte dearly, and he's making a solid point. And artists don't really get their worth, so he's putting his foot down in a big fucking way. Yeah.
So he's hypothesizing, by the way. He's not saying this is happening. He's like, I can see this happening because artists...
The projection, yeah.
So Tiff's argument, because I wasn't sure how to feel about it either, and I read that to her, and then she was like, well, he's comparing like apples and oranges because podcasters have an audience, right? Like they built in audience that they can kind of... I'm not going to be able to explain it well. Tiff, if she's still listening, can you comment to tell me... What was your point about the Joe Rogan thing?
Delayed when I listened.
Oh, you're listening to the delay thing. Sorry,
my opinion on
the Joe Rogan. I was trying to explain your perspective, and I forgot
messaging. Yeah, it's a bit delayed, but basically, my thought was you can't compare these two things because a podcast versus a musical artist are completely different things.
Right, that's what I just said.
Platforms.
Apples and oranges.
So when you look at so when it comes to a podcast, right?
Yep.
Podcasts are not paid based on streams.
Okay.
They are paid based on the sponsorships that they get and the things they require. They're two completely different business models. One relies on listeners in order to use that to get sponsorships, where the other one relies on you having an innate platform that you've built as an artist, and you will get paid for all the things that you do, the tours, the streams itself. Remember, you don't get money for streaming your podcast, right?
Right.
It's just completely two different business models. You can't compare an artist. Spotify is paying you for every single stream on Spotify.
Even if it is micro pennies.
Even if it's micro pennies, they're still paying you. And Spotify isn't paying every podcaster. They're paying Joe Rogan because Joe Rogan gets 100 million downloads per episode and is going to give them the money back that they've invested in him in ad revenue. An artist is not giving Spotify that much money.
Right.
Spotify, in the end, at a certain point, won't even need artists anymore. The way that podcasts are outliving or performing music.
Artists. Right.
So it's just two completely things. And why would a podcaster pay to have an artist on there? Like if Joe Rogan's already getting 100 million downloads, why does he need Fonte to come on? Why would he pay Fonte to come on?
Right.
You actually can make more talking about Fonte and then probably talking shit about Fonte and making things more interesting than you would than just having Fonte on here. He's already available. He's on social.
Right.
It's not equal value at all.
Right.
So that relationship with Spotify is not the problem. Artists should create something that encourages fans to download directly from them, and then make their money that way.
Okay.
So it's not this. You can't compare the two, especially podcasts are completely reliant on sponsors. So just build up your sponsorship and do the exact same thing that podcasts are doing.
Right.
And again, TMF, this podcast, is not going to be paid for.
Right.
On Spotify, right?
That's true.
You have to secure the partnership to get that yourself.
Yes.
Artists, you put up the songs right now are making money right now.
Correct.
So it's a completely different business model.
I like that. Could you hear that okay? Brett?
That was perfect. Thanks, Tiff.
Thanks, babe. There's absolutely no way I could have explained that in any way, and I held the microphone out, so hopefully that picked up for the audio listeners. So yes, that was basically it. So apples and oranges. Thanks, mate. Great. Appreciate you. Thank you, babe. So yeah, that's basically the deal. Fonte happened to call or Joe Budden called him on his podcast, and he basically Budden disagreed as well. And I think he might have disagreed for similar reasons to Tiff. It's pretty obvious that it is kind of different, and like you said, if say me and you, basically we're building this platform, we don't, like you said, if someone streams this anyway, we don't get paid shit. This just costs us money to put together. We have to pay for hosting, you got to mix and master it. Luckily we already had equipment, but this just costs us money. But we're trying to build a platform, we're trying to build something that, we can put our views out about the culture and about what's happening in the world. And eventually we're going to start having guests. Maybe this month we might have one or two. Maybe next, we're not going to do it a lot, but here and there we will. But like you said, also we do get paid for our streams. So if someone goes right now and streams a song from either of us, we get money for that. Like you said, micro pennies, but we get money. So I can see. I know it's a funny way to say it, right? So I can see artists being vexed that, like, hey, how is Rogan getting 100 million, whereas but he's not getting paid for the stream. It's like he's not an employee, he's like a contractor. They're just like, all right, you give us this shit. He doesn't have to worry about doing the ads anymore because he would have somebody getting those ads for him. Funnily enough, Rogan used to use the same host that we do because they advertise that he's in there. So I don't know how he gets his ads, whether he's got a team or he's got an agent or something that just gives it to him. But now Spotify just have their own ads already built in, and then they can build it all from there. And they know that they're going to he gets like 100 million downloads a month or whatever it is. So he's going to bring all of that audience across to Spotify. Some of them will be like, nah, fuck that. I'm not paying for Spotify, even though you can listen for free. And some will be like, oh, you know what? It's $10 a month and you get 3 months free. Like, let's do it. So I thought that was an interesting something to quickly bring up, being that this is a hip-hop podcast run by artists in order to build a larger platform for ourselves that we can talk about. And that's why I want this podcast to not focus on interviews as much as it is about you and I and what we think about the world and how we want to present that. And then when we do have guests on, it'll be very select into certain people that we want to highlight. I was saying to you the other day, a few people that I want on, because they offer some good perspective to the world from, in the business that we know that are doing some really cool shit, so as opposed to up and coming artists, I don't really want to do that. It's not that kind of thing. I want to really provide value and give something to people where they can come out of it and be like, oh, fuck, all right, cool. Learn a little something or whatever. Get thinking.
Get the noggin tinking.
Fuck I'm saying.
Mate.
So.